push this.
And where is Tran at the moment?
Thailand? I know he was going between Vietnam and Thailand, back and forth, yeah.
Not on Julia's plane, though.
Hey, Ryan, should I just start the meeting even though, and just,
I mean, if they're not coming,
they're supposed to be, so,
well, in the interim, Council President Bushmeyer, you can fill in to make quorum.
and then when they come up, just make the announcement they showed up? Okay. And in that case, good evening, it's now 5 o'clock on February 25th, and I will be calling the FEDRAC meeting to order. For the record, my name is Paul McDaniel, and I'll be chairing the meeting tonight. To my right, I have Councilmember Honda. To my left, I have Council President Kochmar, and next to her, I have Councilmember Walsh. What's that? And we will be joined shortly by Councilmember Tran and also Councilmember Dovey. Do we have any public comments today?
Councilmember, if I could just, excuse me,
Establish the quorum.
sorry, got a
Oh,
frog in my throat.
thank you.
Until the other committee members are present, Council President Kochmar will be acting as a committee member.
Do I need to make any notes on that, or does that take care of it?
That does it right there.
Appreciate it, thank you very much.
We have no public comment.
Okay, having no public comments, we'll move on to committee business. The first item for the day is going to be approval of the summary minutes for January 2025.
Move approval.
I think I can second that, correct? I will second that. We have a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Ayes have it. All right, moving on to agenda item B. Excuse me if I've mispronounced this. Is it Hanwui? Hanwui Garden Boring Project Acceptance.
Good evening, Council, Council President. Now, I pronounce it Hanuri. I don't know if that's potato, but here we go. This is the, sorry it's such a yawner, but this is the Hanuri Garden Boring Project Acceptance. A little background on this. You got to expect those jokes out of me. I work with John. So, background on this, prior to the release of retainage of the small public works project, the city council must accept the work as complete to meet the State Department of Revenue, Employment Security, Labor and Industries. The work performed by Lionscape of Washington LLC was complete per the scope of service, and staff is pleased with their performance. The final construction amount is $40,746.45. The question before you is then, should the city council approve the Hanuri Garden Boring Project performed by Landscape of Washington LLC as complete? And your options are approve the final acceptance of Hanuri Garden Boring Project completed by Landscape of Washington LLC in the amount of $40,746.45, or do not approve proposed project acceptance and provide direction to staff. Mayor's recommendation as option 1. Open for any questions.
President Kochmar?
Thank you, Chair. Could you tell me when we think the total garden will be completed?
That's a little bit of a moving target. We just had a meeting with the architect, and we're hoping here very soon. It's looking like I'm hoping within the next 2 to 3 months, we'll have it done. I know weather has held us up a little bit. Yep.
I can wait a little bit on that. And speaking with architect and former Mayor Park, they were shooting for a mid-April date, but the 3 weeks of freezing weather stalled everything by 3 weeks. We also have another item on the agenda here tonight about benches, and benches getting here. Timeline is causing a little bit of delay, and so we're hopeful that it's going to be sometime mid-April, mid to late April. They're also working at having some Korean delegates be here, and so they've got some logistics to work out. But yeah, kind of a moving target, but we're getting close. Hopefully within the next 6 to 8 weeks is what we're hopeful for.
That's wonderful.
Thank you for the assist.
Councilmember Honda?
Thank you. I have a question about the funding for the garden.
Yes.
I understand that they're short, according to former Mayor Park, about $50,000. So if they're short, can the garden be completed?
So work continues as scheduled and planned. I know I've been in communication with the Federal Way Korean Association in regards to that shortage, and the mayor is looking at potential options. We initially funded our portion of the Hanrui Garden with $100,000 from the King County levy, and so there's some discussions on whether we'll backfill some of that, but again, nothing's been committed to, and we're in current discussions regarding that shortage.
So we do have money in the King County levy we could use?
Potentially, yes, if this body and the mayor's office deem that appropriate and want to vote for that, yes.
And when will we be discussing that?
We're trying to make those final arrangements and get to what those true numbers are and find out what commitment would be requested of the city. And then we would have to bring that forward, most likely through Parks Committee.
Okay.
If we have that resolved before sometime in March, it may come through this FedRAC committee again, just because the Parks Committee is canceled in March, so.
Now, the construction and the work will not be held up because of that funding deficit?
None of that is, I haven't been in that discussions about delaying it from, literally George and I were on a Zoom call with the architect from 4 to 4:45, and that wasn't
Okay.
necessarily a topic of conversation. Everything we talked about was still on target. There was nothing on the proposed work that was being proposed to be delayed because of the funding issue.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
I don't see any other questions. Do you have a motion?
Certainly, Chair. I move to forward the final acceptance of the Hanrui Garden Boring Project to the March 4th, 2025 consent agenda for approval.
I will second that. We have motion and a second. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries 2-0. Thank you. Moving on to the next item, item C. I'll try that. Hanrui Garden Bench Purchase Authorization.
Perfect. Thank you.
We'll
Okay,
see.
Little bit of background. Henry, you're good enough. That's close. Little background on this. So with the building of the Hanrui Garden, the Federal Way Korean American Association left an A out there. Garden donations for the purchase of benches for the new park. They raised $15,000 for the purchase of 15 benches to be placed throughout the park. After consulting with park staff, it was determined in order to keep benches at current park standards, the purchase total would be $26,144.95. City staff decided to fund the delta of $11,144.45 in order to keep the new benches at current park standards. The 15 benches are available for purchase using King County Directors Association agreement with Northwest Playground Equipment, Inc., contract 22315. The city entered into the cooperative purchasing agreement with KCDA in 1990 under AG 90004. So the question before you is, should the city council approve purchase of 15 benches for the Hanrui Garden from Northwest Playground Equipment, Inc. in the amount of $26,144.95? The options before you are approve proposed Hanrui Garden bench purchase or do not approve proposed Hanrui Garden bench purchase and provide direction to staff. Mayor's recommendation is option 1. Open for questions.
Right on. All right, Councilmember Honda.
Thank you. 15 benches for this park seems pretty excessive. Are they benches for 2 people, 3 people?
They're 6-foot benches, so more than likely 2 people.
And,
And they're a backless bench, so you can sit either way and admire
oh,
scenery either ways, because there's going to be plantings. There's 4
Right.
seasons going to be planted, represented throughout the park.
okay, well, 15 it shall be. So it says that the benches needed to be at current park standards. Can you explain what that means?
Currently, we go after it's called a Dumore bench. It is a heavy, heavy steel bench. They're tough to pick up. It takes usually, on an 8-foot bench, at least 4, if not 6 of our guys to pick those up. They are stout. And we do require also that we have armrests in the middle of either a 6 or an 8-foot bench, because that hampers people from using them as beds. So there's an added cost there for the bench, and those are the standards that we have put into place for our benches, because we've had lesser quality benches out there, and what happens is we'll end up, a tree will go over them. I've seen trees go over Dumore benches, and they laugh at them. I mean, those things stand up to a lot. They're powder coated, they're just a very solid bench, but
Okay.
they do cost a little bit more.
All right, thank you.
Councilmember Walsh?
Yeah, just a question, what, that difference, where are we finding the
Sorry
money
about
for
that.
it?
I probably skipped right over that. That will be coming out, this item is not included within the budget, approved budget for Huntery Garden bench purchase. As proposed, it will be funded with the $15,000 donation from the Korean American Association of Federal Way, and $11,144.95 from the Capital Projects Fund.
Capital projects,
yeah.
okay.
That we have set aside for the Huntery Garden. That
Okay.
Jason said we're going to put more into
right.
anyway, so.
Sounds good.
Only question I have is, so I just want to make just verification. 15,000 is what we're providing with the grant. Now, was the original cost of the benches the 26, and the only difference is the delta of the 11,000? Okay, that was my only question. And then I just want to, it looks like we have Councilmember Safa Dawson has joined us, and she has her hand raised. So, Councilmember Safa Dawson.
Thank you. Yeah. My question is there some kind of a schematic drawing or a picture of the placement of the parts, of the benches? I'm sorry.
We do have from the architect a placement of the benches throughout the park. Yes.
Can you share that with us then?
Yes, we can. We can forward that on to you. Definitely.
Thank you. I do agree with that. And that way maybe we will have a better grasp on how that would look. Thank you.
That was all chopped
Thank you.
up. All right. And then just real quick, is Councilmember Dovey, is he logged in yet?
Yes, Jack is.
Okay. I don't see him on here, so if he raises his hand, if you can just let me know.
He did.
Okay, he just showed up. Okay. Councilmember Dovey. You there, Jack?
I'm trying, can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay, I am here. Okay. I just, so you can hear me, so I'm in the meeting.
That is
Correct.
correct.
Yes.
Okay. It was a little troublesome getting in.
Gotcha. Real quick, Ryan, in order to do this, would we have then the president make the motion and then all three of us would vote on that? then?
No, now it's just you two.
Okay,
You
so
and
since he
Mr. Dovey.
can't, Councilman, Jack, do you have a copy of the motions?
I do not. I was going to suggest if you make the motion, I will second it.
Okay, we can do that then. We'll start off with this,
Sure.
we'll start off with this one then. Does
Yeah.
anybody have any other questions? No, seeing no lights, I will make the motion then. I move to forward the proposed Hanwui Garden bench purchase to the March 4th, 2025 consent agenda for approval.
I'll second that.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Ayes have it. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
All right. We will be moving on to Committee of Business, agenda item number D, 2025 to 2026 Police Service Agreement, MGP XI Common West LLC. Jack, can you mute your phone, please?
Oh, yeah, I'll figure out how to do that. I will mute it.
Thank you.
Hello, Councilmember. I'm Thaddeus Hodge. I am a commander of the Federal Police Department. In front of you today, the policy question is, should the City of Federal enter into a service agreement with MPG X1 Commons West LLC and MGP X1 Commons Federal LLC? Before I start, I have both of the agendas, Agenda D and E. They are both for the mall. It's just separate contracts. Because it's owned by two individuals, it'll be the same information for both of those entities that I'm reading, the first one. A little history about the mall. The Federal Police Department has partnered with the Commons Mall since its inception. There are currently 3 police officers with full-time positions at the mall. Federal officers' respond at the Commons Mall is to protect the public from harm. The officers also work with the common staff and stakeholders to foster a safe and friendly community environment. Officers also develop crime-related problem-solving strategies with management of the commons and vendors at the mall. They respond to in-progress and prior crimes, take enforcement actions, conduct follow-up investigations, provide training to store employees on how to file online police reports. These are highly visible positions, and officers have positive interactions with mall visitors at special events such as the farmers market, car shows, and holiday events. The terms of the service agreement is for 2 years, starting January 1st, 2025, and ending December 31, 2026. Are there any questions?
Jack, you have your hand up. Do you have a question? I guess not.
I do not.
All right, thank you. I have 2 quick questions. The first one is, I've noticed that we have 3 officers being used for the service, and it does have a price associated with it. My question, I did mention it earlier, is if you could find out if what the cost versus the charges, so we can see I can see what the difference would be. I'd appreciate that. And then the second question is what other locations that we kind of provide these services for? I found that to be an interesting concept. And I know we did it for South Transit? Yeah, South Transit, so I was just wondering if there was any other ones, if you could look into that too. I'd be curious.
Yes, sir. I will look into it with finance and get back to you. As far as we do anyone else, I know we're doing it with the schools. SROs and the schools is contracted through the school district, but I will look further and respond to you as soon as possible with anyone else.
I appreciate that. Seeing no questions, I will make the motion. I move to forward the proposed service agreement to the March 4th, 2025 consent agenda for approval.
And I'll second that, Paul.
All right, we have a motion and a second. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Ayes have it. Moving on to item number E, 2025-2026 Police Service Agreement, MGP X1 Commons FW LLC.
Okay, it's going to be the same information that I just read. The policy question is going to be, should the City of Federal enter a service agreement with this entity? The background is going to be the same. The Federal Police Department has partnered with the Commons Mall since its inception. There are currently 3 officers with full-time positions at the mall. We're responsible for the mall protection from harm, and they work with the staff stakeholders to foster a safe and friendly community environment. Officers develop crime-related problem-solving strategies with management of the commons and malls and vendors. The terms of this contract is the same as the previous, is for 2 years, starting January 1st, 2025, and ending December 31st, 2026.
I see no questions, so we'll go straight to motions. I move to forward the proposed service agreement to March 4th, 2025 consent agenda for approval.
I'll second that.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Ayes have it. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Council.
Moving on to the next item, item F, authorization to purchase indoor furnishings, fixtures, and equipment for the joint operation and maintenance facility.
Good evening, Council. Policy question before you tonight is, should City Council authorize staff to purchase the indoor furniture, fixtures, and equipment for the Joint Operations and Maintenance Facility. Essentially, about 2.2 million was set aside as part of the overall shop budget for FF&E. And with this request, we are asking to purchase approximately $526,000 in some of that furniture, fixtures, and equipment. And that's, some of this stuff has a longer lead time, and trying to progress through it. Specifically, we have some janitorial equipment that needs to be purchased, exterior signage. The big ticket item is kind of the office furniture because of that lead time, several appliances, and then the fitness room equipment. Because this is a bigger building, I'm assuming I need to share my screen somehow. Can you all see that? Okay. Move that down below. Here is a floor plan of the main office building, kind of the admin building as we're referring it to. And all of that furniture within the walls is kind of what that big furniture purchase is. A little bit more detail. This kind of shows what a standard manager's office will be. A standard desk, L-shaped desk with a credenza behind, their office chair, monitor arms, and then a couple chairs for managers to have discussions and meetings within their office. In several kind of the crew areas, we have two wings, both a public works side and a park side of that wing. It's kind of the open crew area for the maintenance workers. It's where they come in and do research on items, have the morning meeting. Lead workers will kind of get a cubicle set up, as you kind of see at the top of that picture. And more your maintenance worker ones and twos will sit at open table concepts. There'll be mobile cube, kind of cubbies for different items that need to be stored, and there's always never enough storage. So that was kind of the public works side. This is more the park side of it. Public Works has quite a few more maintenance employees in the park side. So why you see less furniture there with a little bit of that extra space. There's lots of times where we have to get together with volunteers or groups out in the community, and that's why there's kind of a couch setup shown there and a little bit more of a kind of a brainstorming area in parks. Hence, there's your pictures of that stuff. Then this is kind of your main lunchroom that combines with the multi-purpose room. That's accordion door, and so all that furniture will be like in kind. We currently conduct our citywide safety meetings here in the city council chambers. Once we open this facility, they'll be in that building, and those safety meetings have between 60 and 80 people in them, and it's both public works, parks, community development, code compliance officers conduct those. So accordion wall would be pulled, and you can set that up as more of a full lunchroom, and that multi-purpose room is one big training room. So conference room, table and chairs. Now, we'll probably not have quite as long of a table. We've talked about maybe minimizing that. And then some of the lobby furniture shown there. And that's an example of the furniture. And so kind of the options to consider, I guess what I want to say is there's no additional financial impacts. Like I say, this was included in the joint maintenance and operation budget. And so options to consider are authoring us to purchase that indoor FF&E, or do not authorize and provide staff with direction. I'd be happy to entertain any questions at this time.
President Kochmar?
Oh, thank you very much. So the total project cost for furniture for the maintenance facility is 2.2?
2.2, we're requesting to be able to authorize to spend $526,000 of that right now. That's because of lead times and, every day, days are ticking by, and before you know it, we're gonna need to be in there, and so we just gotta start checking those boxes and start
So
getting some of this stuff purchased.
You anticipate ordering the rest at a later date?
Pardon?
You anticipate ordering the rest at a later date?
Yes, there'll be additional things as we come along, so.
One last question. I've had somebody in the community ask me if you were going to have a a dome like Lake Haven has in their central area.
No, I mean,
Oh, that's too
the
bad.
crown on Lake Haven's building is pretty fantastic, but we have no rotunda or crown planned for our maintenance facility.
Too bad. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Councilmember Walsh.
Yeah, and so you're ordering them now, but it will not be delivered till after the building is completed, correct?
Correct. And so, like I say, we're just working on the ones with long lead times. Some of this stuff, manufacturers will hold for us and ship, we'll kind of create a purchase order, get a hold for it, and then we'll coordinate
Okay.
that ship date in the future.
All right.
Some stuff, we have got some containers, and we've been storing some stuff that way as necessary.
All right, thank you.
Do we have any hands raised? Okay,
No, we do. Jack.
Jack. Councilmember Dovey.
Yeah, the question I have is, since we know we're going to be buying all this, and this is the second time we've had everybody come forward, why aren't we just buying it all at once so we don't have to keep bringing it back up?
It kind of comes down to staff's ability to work through and process, get the proper quotes in, go through the procedures. Now, I would be happy to entertain a friendly amendment to this motion to give us authorization on the full 2.2, but staff didn't think that was appropriate. But again, if council wanted to make that decision and make that friendly amendment, we'd be happy to have it.
I mean, I don't know what everybody else thinks, but we know we're going to keep going through these purchases, and if prices keep changing and going up, we'd be probably better off to make the purchase all at once instead of keep coming back and having changes in supply chain.
And if I could weigh in, that's a fine idea, and maybe we could do that the next time, but that's not how this is written up, and I'm not comfortable with an oral motion for 1 point whatever,
Okay.
$7
Understood.
million.
Okay, well,
But we could do that for the
money.
next phase.
I could see Steve getting older by the minute.
yeah.
It's just a matter of documentation, is all.
Oh, the money's there.
But I hope so.
Yeah. Okay.
Do you have any other questions, Jack?
No, I just was thinking we might want to speed it up next time. Thank you.
All right. I just have a couple questions on this one. Did any of these prices come above what we had originally quoted?
So what we did for the big purchase is the furniture. And so we solicited proposals from 3 vendors off of the state contract and got their proposals and vetted those both internally and externally. And so what I can say is this was kind of the lowest amount. It wasn't necessarily the staff's preferred furniture, but the price delta and that, it was determined that this was the right purchase for the building. Now, the other brand happened to be a Very is the name of the brand, and we've just put some of that stuff in the public works area, and it's fantastic stuff, but we're talking big dollar savings from that quote to this quote. And the furniture being proposed in here is all what I would consider top-of-the-line furniture that's going to last. You know, we get one shot to outfit this. We don't ever get a lot of money to purchase and do new furniture. As you look around this building, we've been in here over 20, and we're due to get some furniture upgrades in this building. But again, money's that object or that barrier. And so a lot of this is Hahn brand, and Hahn is really reputable and known to hold up in kind of that office furniture world. We've got a lot of Hahn stuff currently here in this building, and it's held up we literally moved it from Old City Hall here, and it's still being utilized. So have a comfort level that it's got the durability and the longevity that we need out of the FF&E we're going to purchase.
Okay, so just rephrase. So just make sure, so these price points are pretty much exactly what we quoted. We might have had to change the actual chairs that we actually are getting then, or? is this-
So we've vetted that, and we're trying to spend our money wisely, and we might spend a little bit more on some file cabinets and credenzas than we might on the office chairs, or
Gotcha.
the manager's office chairs might be a little bit nicer because they're going to last and they come with a lifetime warranty versus a cheaper chair that in 5 years, if the cylinder breaks, we don't have a warranty, whereas the chairs we're speccing, they'll replace the cylinders for free. So
Gotcha.
we're taking all that factors into consideration.
So within the budget of the 2.2 million, this fits in with what was budgeted for the furniture, which I think is what your question.
Yeah, that was my question, and then I was just wondering from the way it was being responded, if we had to make an adjustment to what we were getting because of price changes or anything, so.
No, so that within the budget, the breakdown of the original 2.2 million, the furniture pricing fits into what was allocated of the 2.2 million.
Awesome, thank you. Councilman Walsh.
Yeah, I was
I
just going to say.
apologize, I didn't understand
It's all-
that question
No
properly.
worries, no worries.
So, yeah, as Jason was saying, that with the Han furniture, 25, 30 years ago, I was in the office furniture business for a few years, selling it. And Han is considered just a good, solid, not necessarily the top of the line, but a good, solid piece that's going to last. And so, anyway, I think that's a wise.
It's got a
wise
record of
choice.
durability, and that
Yeah.
was one of the largest factors in our considerations.
Yeah, it's not top of the line as far as fancy, but top of the line as far as durability.
Gotcha. That's probably what we need there anyways. President
Yeah.
Coach Moore.
Sure. At one of our last meetings, we talked about the signage on the fence and the art being a small part of the fence. I mean, we're 2% for the arts.
Correct.
And so at what point were we going to bring that? I can't remember. EJ, did we have a decision on when we were going to bring that back up?
You asked at the next council meeting.
At this next, in March, or the second one in March? Yeah, could you remember to put that on the agenda? Yeah, we were going to bring it back. Is that okay at the council rather than at the committee meeting?
Yes,
Yeah.
we asked for it to go to the council meeting, and I noticed it wasn't on the agenda for the next
Right,
council meeting.
Right, so, yeah, if you could just remember to do that.
Yep.
Thank you.
All right, I see no hands. Let's go to a motion. All right. I move to forward the proposed purchase to the March 4th, 2025 consent agenda for approval.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor? Aye?
Aye.
Aye. Ayes have it. Thank you very much.
Thank you for your support.
Moving on to agenda item G, Historical Society of Federal MOU Amendment 3.
Good evening, Council President, council members, Autumn Gressick, Contract Administrator. The item before you this evening is the Historical Society of Federal Way Memorandum of Understanding Amendment 3. The policy question is, should the City Council approve the Historical Society of Federal Way Memorandum of Understanding Amendment 3 to include $50,000 in additional compensation and to extend the expiration date to December 31st, 2025? We've had a long-standing relationship with the Historical Society, and this is an extension of their contract to continue the work that they're doing and hopefully increase some of that scope. Happy to answer any questions should you have them.
I don't see any question. I do have one. 50,000 is a pretty big jump. What is the 50,000 for?
That is a great question. I'm going to phone a friend with John and make sure that I answer this correctly.
They are, the Historical Society has taken on some additional duties in respect to doing some more tours. They want to do some park tours. They want to do some historical information around both Brook Lake and Steel Lake, and increase their presence a little bit more at the Historical Society building. And so it is a recognition of the extra work that they're taking on.
Got you. And then the funding for that extra 50, is that coming from the general parks?
That, I believe, and I may have to phone a friend, I believe that might be coming from general fund.
Yeah, that's general fund.
General fund, okay. Last question I have is actually for legal. I have family and I have currently a potential of working with the Historical Society on my business side. Do I need to excuse myself from this particular item?
Recusals are always up to the member, but I always say better safe than sorry. If you're going to recuse yourself for this, though, we'll need Council President Kochmar to vote.
All right. You okay with that? Then I'll recuse myself from this one.
All right. So, Jack, are you still there? Doggy?
Yes, yes, I'm
Okay, I'm
here.
gonna make the
I'll make a motion that we approve the allocation to the Historical Society.
No, hold on. Let me make the motion, then you second it, okay?
Okay.
I move to forward the proposed MOU amendment to the March 4th, 2025 consent agenda for approval.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. Thank you.
All right, well, thank you very much. That was pretty easy. Moving on to the next agenda item, H, Innovo Architects Amendment 2.
Thank you. Again, Autumn Gressick, Contract Administrator. Before you is the Inova Architects Amendment 2. Policy questions: should the City Council approve the Inova Architects Amendment 2 to include $51,532 in additional compensation? As part of the overall project, we brought on Inova Architects back in late 2023 when we entered into the initial design and concept. As we worked through that, we, as we brought to you in June and July of last year, uncovered some discrepancies and some issues within the locker rooms that required us to utilize more of our contract than what we had anticipated and to redesign some of the slab and different areas within the locker room. Due to that, we are requesting additional compensation be added to our architect's contract to cover the additional time we're going to need as we go through the construction phase to ensure that inspection and review of not only submittals and RFIs, but on-site work is being completed. Happy to answer any questions.
Councilmember Walsh.
Not directly with this, but
Okay.
what's the anticipated completion for the project?
As of right now, same update that I had a couple of weeks ago, the working days completion is July 25th, 2025. However, as we've navigated into construction, we anticipate being able to give you an update at the April Parks Committee meeting, and I would hate to speak too soon as we've just gotten going, so.
Okay, thank you.
Councilmember Honda.
Thank you. Did we not have a contingency fund?
We did not ask for contingency on this specific one. We have it within the budget, but we didn't have contingency appropriated when we asked you to approve this contract. So I needed to come back to ask you for that appropriation, but it's within the budget.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
All right, I got a couple of questions. So my first question is when I read through this, it sounds like they're requesting additional fundage for additional site visits due to the things that we found. I'm curious to know why the architects need to come out to look, to do additional studies when the only difference was that the flooring was actually adhered to the ground and it wasn't separated. Why does the architect need to come out for $50,000 more? What are they doing that's so different now?
So some of it was the amount of times that they came out during June, July, and August of last year that chewed up a lot of our contract. We did have to be on site to put our eyes on not only how that affected the studs, the plumbing, the drainage, all of those other items within the facility. It also uncovered significant deficiencies where that dry pack mortar bed was meeting the concrete slab in our natatorium as well as our hallway areas. That is something they have to put eyes on. A picture doesn't do it justice, and when they're creating all of the CAD drawings and putting the specifications together, the specifications are upwards of 482 pages. They needed to be able to know exactly where we were moving things around and why.
Gotcha. And just out of curiosity, because they do have such an extensive price point for per hours, what kind of people actually come out and check out the physical location?
Our actual architect as well as their subcontractors, so HVAC, mechanical, plumbing, electrical are all on site, as well as environmental sometimes when we have had to move through those different obstacles.
Gotcha. And then we're gonna probably move it forward tonight, but I would like at the parks, if you can bring us an updated cost for what this project is gonna cost, because it's a balloon, and I'd like to know how full of air it is at the moment, if that's
Absolutely.
possible. All right, and if I don't see any more questions, I will make a motion. I move to forward the proposed contract amendment to the March 4th, 2025 consent agenda for approval.
I'll second that.
A motion and a second. All those in favor, say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Thank you very much.
One quick clarifying question. Your next Parks meeting is going to be in April. Are we okay bringing you the update in April since there's not a Parks meeting in March?
I don't think that's gonna be a problem. No,
Okay.
we're good. We're good.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, that's fine.
We're one step closer to getting it finished, right?
Exactly.
All right, moving on to the next agenda item. Item I, authorization to award and construct, authorization to award and contract for computer room air conditioning unit.
Yes, thank you. Computer room air conditioning, or as we jokingly refer to it as our crack units if you're in general conversation with us, for the replacement bid award. The policy question is, should the city council award the computer room air conditioning crack units replacement to the lowest responsive responsible bidder, McDonald Miller Facility Solutions, in the amount of $377,840 and a contingency of $37,784 for a project total of $415,624 and authorize execution of the associated contract? Staff went out to bid on these back in October. We originally had $200,000 from ARPA funds set aside and appropriated for this project. When the bids came back in higher than the $200,000, we worked through budget amendment with finance to identify where we could pay for the remainder of the project. $217,624 will be coming from the general fund, and then the $200,000 that was originally allocated from ARPA. We are ready to move this forward and get the process going. Ideally, we would contract for this and have work start in the next 14 to 30 days. Happy to answer any questions.
Commissioner Walsh?
Yeah, my only question is how did we end up being so off on the original estimate?
That's a great question. I'm going to reach to Jason on this one as far as the original estimate.
And I think maybe I should be in the air conditioning business with a price like that.
Absolutely. We were a little stunned by that too, but part of it is with the deficiency in funding and maintenance is a lot of times we get out quotes and they get added to the wish list, and significant time periods elapse between when those initial cost estimates are created and when we actually get funded. And that was part of the big delay. As Autumn said, we went out for this in October, and staff had to work with other departments to get this kind of figured out, because it's imperative. If you've ever been in a server room and you don't have it climate controlled, or you stand behind the server tower and feel the amount of heat that comes out of those units, this is critical for our data center. Those things are well past their useful life. We've been struggling to keep one running for easily 3 years now, and so again, it feels like egg on our face, and it does feel like it's that. But I think the HVAC industry and inflation, those inflationary things hit us in a huge way in that 2-year time period, and so yeah, it was sticker shock for us, and we were struggling to make sure that we could make this happen. But this isn't kind of a want to have.
Yeah.
This is a need.
That's-
If our computer system isn't or our data center isn't cooled, we don't have a computer system for the city.
You can just come in and shoot it with liquid nitrogen.
I don't see, okay, so, only questions I have on that one is, what, do you happen to know what the current temperature is down in that room?
I believe we're running between 67 and 68 degrees. We have 2 of these air conditioning units in there, and they run, it's for the redundancy, and so they alternate and switch and keep those cooled. They also have a humidity control portion of that unit, and so, again, Thomas, myself, and Brian have been on pins and needles for years worrying that one of these is going to go down, and so it's just kind of, it's way overdue and ready to be done.
Gotcha. And then what is the time frame once this is approved, moves forward, the whole process to purchase to installation?
And my best hope is 90 days, but I think that term's going to be extended probably more to 120 or 145. And what that has to do is with lead times on these units. Ever since COVID, they don't just have these. So these are built on demand, you know, as they get the orders in is how and when they build them. And so as we enter into getting the contract completed with them, that's something that we've got to work out with McDonald Miller. And to me, my goal would be is before we hit the heart of the summer, we've got them replaced. Now, there is some conditions in that bid and in that contract amount that if they have to bring in temporary air conditioners because we are, you know, let's say we got a real hot May or real hot June and they're still in the process of it, they're on the hook to bring in portable air conditioning units, do all the electrical work to hook them up so that there's no jeopardy of that data center being in an overheated state.
Gotcha. And my last question is actually for Finance Director. 217 out of the general fund, did we have to make any cuts to anything? 'Cause that's not a small chunk of change.
Right, and when I was talking to the city administrator, clearly this is a must-do, the air conditioning for our server room. It's a little early in the year, but I'm anticipating that our salary savings, I'm afraid that we've been having a lot of turnover in various departments, and it's our practice to sweep salary savings, and I think that that's where it's going to come from. We know that we have to do it, so this'll, I think it'll be able to be covered by the general fund without a budget amendment.
Gotcha. And then real quick on that sweeping of the salaries, do we have, or does the accounting system, do you guys have the ability to like know exactly what that amount's going to be every month of what the positions were that were allotted for and that they weren't filled?
I don't have it by position, we have it by dollar amount by department.
Okay, so, but then there's the actual number that you guys know every month?
Once the payroll's posted every month, it's not like we're going to get invoices trickling in a month or two later. Timesheets are in, we're done, yeah.
Gotcha. All right, thank you.
Sure.
Let me get back to the motion. All right, I'll make the motion.
Hey, Paul?
Yes.
I have a question.
Go for it.
What's the lifetime of the new air conditioning? What's our expectation? Is it 10 years, 15, 5? What's the?
I think my expectation is 20 minimum. These crack units have about 27 years on them. So realistically, as we look at the depreciation and that, my minimum expectation would be 20. But as we do with all of our infrastructure, we're going to ride it as long as it's working and make those little repairs to keep it running as long as we can to minimize the impact on our finances.
And if we were to ever move the data center somewhere else, is this air conditioning portable, or is it once and done, always in the same building?
Oh, it's not portable by any means. I mean, it's anchored to an elevated floor that a data center's in. Now, if we decided to relocate and we found it most beneficial to have these relocated to a new data center at a new facility, that's there. There will be costs associated with that. But yeah, they're by no means portable.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
All right, I think that's all the questions. I'll make the motion then. I move to forward the proposed bid award for the computer room air conditioning crack unit replacement to the lowest responsible bidder, McDonald Miller Facility Solutions, to the consent agenda for approval.
I'll second that.
Motion and a second. All those in favor, say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Ayes have it. Thank you very much. Moving on, 2 to go. We are moving on to item number J, AP vouchers 1/16/2025 to 2/15/2025, and payroll vouchers 1/1/2025 to 1/31/2025.
All right, thank you. As I bring the voucher approvals, this seems like the appropriate time to mention that with us this evening with the Finance Department is David Liang. Our voucher report and our monthly financial report was put together. Since Chase Donnelly has left, we have promoted David, and took us a while to get that recruitment done, and our next financial analyst to replace him in his old position starts on Monday. The vouchers are in your packet, and as usual, the dollar amounts for the AP vouchers continues to be dominated by construction projects. Payroll vouchers this month were what we would consider normal. There were no quarterly payroll taxes. And rather than just point out that, yes, we had a lot of construction projects, I want to show the spending on the maintenance facility. Since we issued the bond and got $53 million, initially in August, we did the property acquisition. Since then, it's been all construction. And in January, just the spending alone for the maintenance facility project invoices was $2 million. We still have $40.1 million, $40.2 unspent. That continues to earn interest. We are adding about $150,000 in interest back into that project every month, just because the unspent bond proceeds, of course, are invested as we always do. And in our monthly cash tracking, you can see the red bars represent the unspent bond proceeds. But the spending at, even at $2 million a month, it's going to take us another 20 months-ish for the invoicing and for the payment. So we're tracking the cash. Back to the invoice vouchers, though. Councilmember Honda, you had sent some questions. We had a compressed weekend this week, and I got almost all the questions. I think I still owe you 2 more answers we need to follow up. And if any of you have any further questions, we're always happy to follow them up.
I do have some questions on the vouchers.
Yes.
So on
Get my
page,
pen handy.
on page 32, there is a voucher for JM Arts Consulting LLC, $12,500. I remember we voted on that because the contract was extended another month. My question is, I believe at some point I read or was told that the Arts Foundation was paying for this contract? The Arts Foundation was paying for this
Oh.
contract? So did this money come out of our general fund, or did the arts, who paid for the overall contract?
If it's in our vouchers, we are paying for it. I am certain. I don't believe we have any receivable direct, I don't think it's a pass-through at all. I think we are abiding by our contractual agreement for this payment.
So did we pay for the entire contract for this?
That I can follow up with.
Okay.
Because I just see the invoices and the payments on my side.
Okay. And it's oh. Autumn,
hand up.
Autumn may be able to answer the question.
Oh, I thought you had left.
I'm still here.
Forgive me.
So quiet, sitting in the corner.
Autumn Gressett, did I tell you I appreciate you?
I appreciate you as well, Steve. In regards to that question, the original $60,000 of the contract prior to the one additional extension was paid for by OVG 360 contribution fund, so not out of our general fund and not out of any of the city's actual dollars. And then when there was an extension, OVG agreed to pay for an additional $12,500. The Arts Foundation paid for $12,500, and the city, out of their own funds, out of parks, paid for $12,500. And that was to extend the contract through the end of January. So the only thing that the city paid for was $12,500. OVG invested in a engagement study. The reason the contract lives with the city is because it is a city facility, and we hold that contract and hold those consultants accountable.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
See, saved you some work.
I have a follow-up on that question. It was OVG's, what account did they use for it?
OVG 360 in 2018 had a $100,000 contribution that they made to the city that could only be utilized for mutually agreeable items within the Performing Arts and Event Center.
Okay.
We had a significant amount of COVID time where a lot of stuff didn't happen. There's other items that were purchased with that $100,000 that were mutually agreeable. As we looked out forward and we had the opportunity to potentially engage in a engagement study and determine how can we drive additional contributed revenue, both OVG and the city mutually agreed that that would be a good investment to have a return and gain a better position within the community and a financial position with contributed revenue.
Gotcha. And is there anything left of that fund?
They actually contributed an additional $200,000 as part of their 2024 extension.
Yep.
So we do have that.
Okay. When you said the name, it sounded like it was that part, but I didn't know if it was a previous one that rolled
Yeah,
over.
the original 100,000 is where this 60 came from, and then their new investment is completely separate.
Gotcha. Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
And then thank you. I have an additional question on the Teslas that were purchased for the police department. So that's interesting. So are they identified as police vehicles?
I believe they are unmarked, but you're delving into operational questions. I would have to consult with Commander Buchanan.
I look at them all day out my window. So they are both unmarked. They are, one commander is driving one. Actually, the deputy chief is driving one, is unmarked. I believe it has lights, but no markings. And then the administrative officer is driving one.
So then my next question goes to, are these take-home cars, or are they being charged here at City Hall? And do we have a charging station here?
They are take-home cars, and we have a limited capacity to charge the vehicles at work. I'm not sure where they're charging them. There's also a Tesla station over there where the was it Rite Aid?
Right.
Yeah.
But-
I'm not sure where they're charging them.
I wouldn't want them to go sit there at Rite Aid and charge the car.
Yeah, it's about 30 minutes to charge a Tesla.
So then my next question is on this. We had a Tesla, we had to get a car last year for a week, and we brought home a Tesla and we charged it in our house because we don't have the increased electrical capacity to charge a vehicle. And I don't know all the terms. It was very difficult to get much of a charge from from the Tesla. So we weren't that happy with it. So if these are take-home cars, then are we paying for these cars to be charged at home, which could be a significant amount of money? And what was the thought behind getting a Tesla, not a hybrid or
Which I believe we also do have. Commander Buchanan is the fleet manager for PD, and we've had some discussions, although when I'm talking with PD about their fleet, it's mostly about the dollars, and so I'm not familiar with that. I'll ask him to follow up for us.
Okay, because if we're going, I realize that we are going to have to transition to more electrical vehicles, but unless we have the ability to charge those vehicles, then it makes no sense to do it.
I will pose that question and have him get the answer out to you.
Okay, thank you.
Certainly.
I do have some information on that. So we do not have the capacity to charge large-scale lots of these vehicles. We have one, it's phase one, I believe 40 watt. So it's faster than you have at home. It might be 60 watt. It's faster than you have at home, but it's not the phase two or even at the Tesla charger, a phase 3 charger that's the 30 minutes. So we can charge them here. It's just not quite as efficient as if you had a phase 2. But their intent is not to charge them at home, and they have not been, my understanding is they're not going to charge the city for the charging, so, for charging at home. So there's no mechanism to track it. No one installed any enhanced charging mechanism at their homes. Right now, it's an experiment, basically, to see how well they function in an administrative role.
So then my next question, what is so we expect these cars then to last at least 7 years?
That's
that
what
correct?
that's what we're currently thinking, yes.
And are Teslas lasting that long and good in running to the best of their ability?
That's a good question, because our philosophy in replacing the fleet with PD is to make sure that we are purchasing 1/7 of 7-year vehicles and 1/10 of 10-year vehicles, et cetera. So we're trying to budget so that we replace perpetually the whole fleet so that it just turns over. I'll double check that, because I don't know that off the top of my head.
It might be a policy, go back to a policy question that the council should come up with as to how we purchase electric vehicles or hybrid vehicles and the percentage as to how we do that and when we do it.
Does anybody know if how many is the maintenance facility providing for electrical charging stations? Can anybody answer? Does anybody know that one?
That has a different fleet manager, and I don't know the answer, but
Because I know we were looking at gassing up over there, so I wonder if we're looking at charging up over there too.
I think we are building,
We're required to
Some.
install some by
Yeah.
code, but I don't know how many.
Hey, Paul, can I
Yes.
ask a question?
Go for it.
Hey, when we buy a Tesla instead of a normal police car, what's the difference in cost?
it wasn't much, it was 53, 54.
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah, I guess what I was, when we're on a 7-year cycle and we're paying police cars, I don't know what they are, 50,000, 60, whatever the number is, 40, and a Tesla, are they in the same price range, pretty much?
I believe so.
when I'm having finance discussions with both our public works fleet and our police department fleet. It's not, it's not finance's role to tell them how to do their business, but it is to make sure that it'll fit our budget and fit our long-term planning. So some of these operational questions, I'll have to ask them to come back to us, because I'm looking at the dollars year over year and making sure, because it's not only the cost of the vehicle, but it's the operating costs, the repair and maintenance, the fuel, that kind of thing. So
Plus the equipment.
it's a bigger question.
Yeah. The only reason I ask the question is if they're in the same ballpark and they're depreciated over 7 years and they have a track record, it's really up to the department to make their decision. If
Sure.
If it's not, then that should be a council discussion, as Councilmember Honda brings up, that we might want to revisit sometime.
And both Public Works and Police have operational performance needs that I'm not familiar with. So that's a pretty big topic.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
All right, only question that I have is I noticed that the Fedway lockers, we have a temporary locker for $10,000 every month at the Fedway. Do you happen to know what that temporary locker is? It's $10,000 a month.
Not off the top of my head. Is that, yeah, I would be speculating, and I'd rather not.
All right, so what I'll do is I'll just do a capture of this one and then send it over, and you can figure it out. 'Cause I've been. Oh, you gotta wave your hand. Let us know.
Sorry, I was waving my hand, I didn't want to butt in. The $10,000 is for the court party rental for the rental of the temporary tent and locker facilities in the back of the building that are keeping our facility open and functioning during the renovations.
Are you talking about the shower systems and stuff?
Yeah, so the shower systems are a payment that goes out to Royal Restrooms every single month, but the tent and all the electrical and the heating and air conditioning units that are covering that
Yeah.
are from court party rental. So that's a monthly rental occurrence.
Oh, we just have it listed underneath of lockers then?
I believe we've reclassified, it is temporary locker rooms out there is what we're calling it.
I saw a temporary locker, and I'm thinking like, because you guys have also put like lockers in the hallways and put changing rooms in the hallways.
Yeah.
So I was trying to figure out if it's one of these new items I've been seeing when I go there.
Nope,
Okay,
it's in the back.
so it's the temporary locker room.
Correct.
That makes more sense. Thank you.
You're welcome.
And then I don't see any other questions, but you need to give me a moment while I go find the motion. Yeah, I know, it is what it is. Man, these things are long. Okay, that's not it. There we go. All right, nope, that's not it either. Too far. All right, I found it. I move to forward the vouchers to the March 4th, 2025 consent agenda for approval.
I'll second that.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Ayes have it. Motion passes. Thank you very much. Moving on to the last item, item K, monthly financial report, December 2024.
Thank you. We are in a funny part of the year. This is the December monthly financial report. We are committed to bringing you the information that we know. Now, this is a preliminary December report because, as you know, our fiscal year ends in December. We wait until the end of February to pay all of the invoices that are attributable to 2024. February isn't over yet, so we really haven't closed the accounts payable for December yet. And then we'll go through our audit preparation and do our accruals and do all the things that we have to do to get ready for the auditors to walk in, I believe, about May 1st. However, we do have information that we can always share, and it's primarily focused on how our revenue's doing. I have now got almost all of the revenues for a complete year ending December. So I can go through those because I think the relevance is how that predicts how the next few months are going to be going for us as we start 2025. Sales tax, we have been talking about this every single month for the entire last year. We finished the year 5% unfavorable to budget, and that was 5% under prior year. And I think I have got, yes, I do, I've got inflation. The most recent inflation figure we have, the last 4 months turned up just a little bit. The Fed never achieved its 2% target. It turned up, and the most recent CPI number that they released was up to 3%. So that means if our sales tax was down 5% during 3% inflation, I would have expected we would have been up 3% had volume been the same, so this means volume has not been the same. And there is mixed opinions on why that is. We do get our sales tax on a 2-month lag, so part of this is still concern over the economic ramifications of the presidential election, of the interest rates being up. So what we can do is we continue to watch, wait, and report, and see what we need to do month by month. Utility tax, this is the one that I don't have a full 12 months. We started to put together our monthly financial report showing all 12 months, and then we realized some of these, now normally we get all of our utility tax on a 2-month lag. We still hadn't received a couple checks. So there is one table in the financial report, the one that shows utility tax by electricity and phone and water and all that. The 2023 figures, we had 12 months in there, and so that table is incorrect. Everything else is. Generally, though, it was running favorable to budget the entire year. We expect it to do the same for the December once we get all of those checks. Real estate excise tax, can we all celebrate this one? We had an upturn in the final month of 2024. There was a handful of properties that exchanged hands. The two principal ones, I don't have the names of them off the top of my head, but we know our city. If you're down on 336th and Twin Lakes and you're going to Dairy Queen, there's an apartment complex next door. That apartment complex changed hands. And then a block away behind the Taco Bell, there's a fairly large storage facility. That one changed hands. Those two commercial properties changing hands significantly impacted our REIT for the month of December. So as we read the tea leaves, as we look for real estate to loosen up, we still expect mortgage rates to drop. We are still looking at a handful of rate cuts in 2025. I'd like to be optimistic, and all I can do is report the actual facts without speculating, and I can tell you that REIT went up. Oh, and if you look at just December by itself, year over year compared to prior Decembers, you can see it's significantly, it more than doubled. Nice to have a little bit of glimmer of good news to bring you. Lodging tax, similarly. If you recall, in 2020, during the pandemic, the tourism sector, the hotels across the nation, I was in Yakima at the time, lodging tax took such a big decrease that we knew it was going to take multiple years to come back. In 2023, we celebrated, hooray, we got back to pre-pandemic levels. Well, look where we finished 2024. We have even exceeded. And I also point out that we're doing it with a fewer number of hotels than we had in 2019. We know that we've lost a few. So this is a very small scale. We always said that we get $300,000 in lodging tax in a good year, and here we are, 330, I think, is what it came in. So we just celebrate. I think this is an economic indicator that gives me a lot of hope. Property tax, this is just to confirm that while the timing may vary from time to time, when we get our property tax, we always do. We did finish 0.7% unfavorable to budget, and I assume that that's because there's a few properties that didn't get paid, but ultimately, when properties do change hands, they always get caught up on their property tax. So that just confirms it for me. Interest revenue, we finished very strong, way ahead of what we budgeted, and I have the most recent purchases that when we have a bond that matures, we purchase another one. We had two single maturities in December, and we just bought a $2 million item. And I have a little Post-it note there on the bottom to just point out, we've already made our January investment, we've already made our February investment. The rates that we got were still above 4%. So we had budgeted, kind of speculating when rates would start decreasing. They are still continuing to hold fairly steadily. So that's what I can tell you about the state of the city, the preliminary look at the December close. The next time I come to FedRec, we will be bringing you January and February with some graphs that'll have two little data points that'll begin to give us the trajectory of where the current year is going. That's what I have for you. Thank you.
Councilmember
Yeah,
Walsh.
just a question, back to
Please.
sales tax.
Yes.
You know, I know we have the breakdown of sales tax according to geographic area in the city. Is there any breakdown of sales tax according to the type, you know, I mean, sales tax for construction versus consumables versus, you know, restaurants and entertainment versus, you know, whatever? Is there any breakdown that way?
Yeah, I think there is, and right now I am hard pressed to get a full staff to, but, and we've also lost Tanya in economic development. I think we have got some sector information. It's a big database.
Yeah, 'cause it seems like if we had the sector information, we might be able to get a better idea of where the, you know, I mean, it might be across the board evenly, I don't know, but I mean, I suspect that there's probably one area that's dropping more than others, and it could give us an idea of what
Yes.
Our next economic
Yeah.
development director might be able to do to alleviate the situation.
Right. I don't think we're going to pave streets in front of different areas with that information or something like that. But yes, it would help us know our city better. You're exactly right.
And it may help predict the future as well.
Right, right.
Councilmember Honda.
Thank you. On the first page of the report, it says expenditures and transfers are favorable to year-to-date budget primarily due to timing of ARPA spending and police officer position vacancies, which in the past you have said that the position vacancies are citywide, not just in the police department. Can you tell us how many vacancies we have in the city that continue to make our year-to-date budget favorable?
I have to confess, you asked me this question last month, and I didn't answer it, and I still need to, because yes, every month when we look at our vacancies, I have the dollar amounts by department. So I apologize. I have the dollar amounts. I can talk to HR and get a read on what our recruiting activity is to kind of get the position numbers. I have the dollars, and I should be able to get that to you. Yeah.
So the other question then would be, if every position was filled, what would the budget look like?
What is the dollar amount? Yeah. Let me research that and get that to you.
Okay.
Sure,
Thank you.
happy to.
When you provide that, can you provide it by total amount and then by department too?
Yeah, it would be nice to know how the departments are doing.
Yep. Yeah, because just anecdotally, I know that finance has been having some turnover and economic development has, and we know who we've been seeing and who we've been saying goodbye to, so. And anecdotally, I think that our turnover seems like it's up right now.
You know, and this is something that we do have people in this city, residents and businesses who read this report, and this is something that they question.
Sure.
So,
And the ARPA savings, we're going to roll forward because that is going to be fully carried forward until it's spent. So I think there's a page in our report that shows that there's about $8 million still left unspent.
and we count that as, so if we didn't have the $8 million, or even if we had never received the 19 million from, what would our budget look like?
Yeah. It's a complex question, but I can get that to you.
Thank you.
Sure.
Dovey, do you have any questions?
Well, I guess I do have one question. I kind of differ on the thought of the ARPA money unspent, because we spent it all, we pre-spent it when we made that budget amendment a while ago. So it's not really ARPA money anymore, although it was separated. It's general fund money, isn't it?
That's correct, and I really wish I had a better way of describing it, because I'd rather not call it ARPA money anymore. But it's that list of projects that I also know that we've made a commitment to you all to make sure that we fully execute and deliver on.
And that money we really have spent because it was on vehicles and different things that had timing. So
Yeah.
it's not really money that's available for anything other than what we already earmarked it to, I would think, correct?
That's exactly right. And I have the page in front of me, and I see that it's $7.2 million. We're still waiting to get the invoices, so we're going to carry the budget
Yeah.
forward to make sure that we don't impact the 2025 budget.
Yeah. Yeah, we might have some savings of things that they saved on, but I think we should not keep referring to ARPA money because we don't have any.
If I could think of a better term, I would. Yes.
Okay,
Yes,
thank-
yes,
thank
you're,
you.
you're exactly right, because because the ARPA contract was completely closed out. Yeah,
It could be called project money, because there's projects that we approve that the ARPA money was to be spent on,
right, it's that you-know-what project, right.
the projects that need to be done.
Councilmember Lydia, do you have any questions? I will say that's a no. The only questions I have on that one, speaking of the project money, is that we had originally, economic development had 14 different items on the project money list, and of those 14, 5 of those have not even looked like they've moved into the actual spending of anything. I would love to be able to see someone present to us if we're going to be completing all these particular 14 items, or if there's a possibility to maybe readjust some of those items, so.
I will mention that I've tracked the spending. This is what invoices, and so you're exactly right. We see 0% spending. However, is the city obligated? Have we contracted? That's a different question, and I would have to pursue that for you.
Yeah.
Because I only see invoices when they come in.
Yeah, totally understood. I'm just curious to know with that many projects status, we haven't had a status update on it, and then also, if those have not been signed, what contracts have not been signed yet?
And I would second that with the new economic development director coming in, they may not want to spend money like that.
I will mention this to the city administrator so that, yeah, that becomes a operational kind of question. I'm the scorekeeper, but yes, you're exactly right.
And then, final question I have, is more of a comment, is when we noticed that we had a little bit of a shortfall in the sales tax and REIT, previously, I requested some information on if any project would be pushed off or anything changed. And as of right now, the mindset is no. Do you know, how does that work out if we have projects that have been approved, budget have been set, but we don't have the revenue stream to come in? Do we have a certain way that we order the projects for like priorities?
REIT is capital, and sales tax is the city's
Gen-
operations, which we offset with interest and utility tax and things. So I think it's the REIT that you're looking
REIT's
for,
the
the
more-
projects. Right, and that's an EJ question, and I think we've been emailing a little bit about that, and with specific projects, I don't remember seeing which projects we were looking at, so let me
Okay.
follow that one up.
And then the last one is, I know that we're looking at doing a financial software update. Do you know when you guys will be bringing that before the FedRAC to give us a little insight on the current status of that process?
We still have not gotten to the vendor selection yet. We're still doing follow-up questions with the vendors that were on the short list.
Okay. That's all I have for at the moment. Seeing no more questions, I'll make a motion. I move to forward the December 2024 monthly financial report to the March 4th, 2025 consent agenda for approval.
I'll second that.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor, say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Ayes have it, motion carries. Thank you very much. With that, that concludes our committee business. I'll leave it open for any comments. No comments here. Anybody from online? Well, in that case, I'll let you guys know the
No,
next.
thank you, I'm good.
All right, thank you. The next FedRAC meeting will be in March 25th, 2025, at 5 PM in this location. Thank you all for coming tonight. Have a great evening.
Good job, Chair.